So good morning, everyone. We are letting everyone slowly in. The time is already there. And we will start, as it's on the agenda today. You could have seen that our event will be kind of interactive. We're having some live discussions, but also some interactions with the audience. And also we're having some nice videos from Europeans from all over the continent. And this is what we want to start now with, the road to Porto and hearing some voices of young people.
Please let me know if you can also hear the speakers.
Yes.
Me siento un poquito rara porque siempre que dicen, pues es gitana, es programadora y bueno, es como romper todo, ¿no? Yo trabajo como programadora informática en Accenture. Bueno, la fundación me ha conseguido el trabajo que ahora mismo es el motor de vida mío. Si no fuera por el curso de la formación y porque ellos estuvieron encima mía, yo no hubiera llegado a encontrar este trabajo. La formación que yo tuve fue un pequeño curso en la Fundación del Secretariado Gitano con la Academia CICE, y después de eso nos hicieron hacer las prácticas en la empresa en Accenture y me formó dentro de su empresa en un programa que tienen ellos. Ahora mismo mi meta es seguir formándome dentro porque claro, en la informática tienes que renovarte siempre. El móvil que teníamos en 2012 no es el mismo que tenemos ahora y todo eso tiene un trabajo detrás. Una vez que trabajas, ya no quieres dejar de trabajar.
Hi, I'm Maria Nicolo Muscio. I'm in the last year of a School of Music in Acquaviva delle Fonti near Bari, and today I would like to talk about my dreams for my future career and the possible obstacles I might face. I've been studying music for 5 years, and I have realized I want to devote my life to the arts. At this moment, I am unsure of what specifically I would like to pursue, but I know for sure it will be with the music field. I am aware that it's very difficult to find a full-time stable job, and people might try to convince me to change my path, but I am a dedicated and a passionate person. I would love to wake up in the morning knowing I have a job I truly love. Thank you for listening to me.
Hello, my name is Caroline. I'm 19 years old, just finished school, and I'm currently a voluntary at the Goethe-Institut in Brussels. Throughout my education, I received a lot of help, understanding, and acceptance from my teachers, parents, but also other tutors. I would like all young people, regardless of the household they're coming from or their social situations, to be able to receive the same opportunities and also to be given the room to be able to discover themselves and to discover what they want in their professional future.
My main concerns about my economic situations and futures are the ones about being able to live on my own, afford a home, being able to dream about having a family without being in debt, to be able to afford a pension and to have a good social protection scheme.
Ciao a tutti, io sono Sydney, ho 18 anni e frequento il quinto superiore di una scuola tecnico-commerciale qui a Bari. Penso che l'istruzione, la formazione, l'apprendimento continuo siano fondamentali per il futuro e soprattutto nel mercato del lavoro, perché magari durante i colloqui di lavoro ci sono alcuni imprenditori, direttori che vogliono un determinato tipo di persona, una persona con delle soft skills particolari, come ad esempio capacità di problem solving, leadership, capacità di lavorare in gruppo, tutte qualità che si possono avere o migliorare nel tempo. Come farlo se non migliorandosi sempre, imparando sempre di più e continuando insomma a studiare, perché non si smette mai di imparare e soprattutto si è sempre in tempo per imparare cose nuove.
Alors j'aimerais devenir ouvrier en espace vert et j'aimerais joindre mon métier de BTP et paysagiste pour trouver un emploi. J'aimerais avoir plus d'expérience dans l'espace vert.
J'aimerais être paysagiste à mon compte. Mes barrières, ce serait d'avoir plus de connaissances dans le métier et d'avoir un réseau.
Mon rêve, c'est genre de devenir sapeur-pompier professionnel à Paris ou à Marseille. Et les barrières, c'est au niveau de la santé, les genoux et puis le dos. Et puis, faut que je reprenne le sport.
Mon plus grand, c'est travailler dans un restaurant. Sauf que les barrières, c'est qu'il y a le Covid, donc ça empêche.
Mon rêve, c'était d'être vendeuse et les barrières, c'est que j'ai peur des études.
Actuellement, je peux pas subvenir à mes besoins moi-même, toute seule. Du coup, j'aimerais bien trouver un emploi qui puisse me permettre d'avoir plus d'argent.
Ma situation économique, j'ai pas vraiment de barrière pour l'instant. Et pour mon futur, j'aimerais... je sais pas par quel moyen je vais atteindre mon objectif et ni en combien de temps je vais pouvoir le réaliser.
C'est après, faut savoir gérer son budget, tout ça, genre l'appartement, l'essence pour la voiture, tout ça. Non,
Non?
pas aujourd'hui.
T'as une rentrée d'argent
Suffisante.
Ouais, grâce à quoi?
Grâce à mon travail.
Et c'est quoi ton travail?
Je travaille en boucherie.
Ok, en apprentissage.
Ouais.
Déjà, c'est de trouver un restaurant, si un patron veut de moi. Après, l'argent, ça va être compliqué, quoi. Si on trouve pas de boulot, ça va être chaud pour avoir de l'argent, du salaire.
J'ai peur que dans ce métier, on soit mal payé.
J'aimerais bien avoir un stage dans l'espace vert pour apprendre plus, acquérir plus de compétences. Donc, nous aider à trouver un stage en espace vert.
Alors également trouver un stage dans un domaine qui m'intéresse, dans lequel je me projette dans le futur. Et également partager des connaissances et leur réseau professionnel.
Genre le contact avec les clients, savoir encaisser l'argent, les découpes, tout ça. Puis le respect.
Les techniques, les types de cuisson, le dressage.
Travail.
Il devrait m'apporter d'être professionnel, donc dans la communication, dans tout ce qui est client, relation. Ouais.
Yes, great. Good morning, everyone. Good morning in the morning, as we say it also in Germany often. Hello to our virtual road to Porto. We know we are all in the pandemic and our life changed a lot in the last year. But let's start to have a short travel for 90 minutes together, and start it please by opening your cameras, your videos. I see that a lot of people already have opened their cameras. Amazing. We want to have a nice interaction with the audience, so please feel free to show yourself. Why to Porto, maybe, is the question. Tomorrow is the big EU social summit, and we want to ensure that the youth perspective will not get lost on the road to Porto for tomorrow. So thank you for joining us for this important event today. Shortly, maybe who am I? I am Matthäus Fandrejewski. I'm the CESI youth representative, and CESI Youth is the youth organization of our European Confederation of Independent Trade Unions, the CESI. And we are organizing this event together with our great partner, the StartNet, which is a project from the Goethe-Institut. And the focus of StartNet is to supporting young people in a better transition from education into the labor market, into employment. And the whole event today is also co-financed by the European Parliament. Let's mention this, by the project which is called We European Parliament. And basically this project wants to connect the work on the EU level and especially of the European Parliament also to the civil society, respectively to the employees and also young workers. I am today on one side very happy that this event is taking place because we will get a lot of great input from stakeholders and mixing them up also with civil society and young people representatives. But on the other side, I'm also a bit sad that this event has to take place as we started in the beginning to plan it when there was no young person represented at the tomorrow's EU Social Summit. Thanks God, so far we know a little bit things changed in the last minutes and there will be some more youth ambassadors and we're happy to see at least this improvement so far. But what means when there's no youth voice that was planned to be listened to tomorrow? So that means that not the voice of one of the most vulnerable groups, no voice of citizens hit the most by the financial crisis and who probably will also economically hit the most by this pandemic we're living in. And at the end, not to listen to the future of Europe, to us and its youth. But this is where we are today. We want to step in. We could see already in the great video a few minutes ago about the circumstances that young people have, but also to hear about their dreams, about their life they're living now, and also very important about the fears of the future. And thinking about all of us, we are all having dreams and fears. It's steering a lot our life. So let's bring this different situation of young people to the table, to the decision-taking table. And it's nice to see these young people from all across the continent. We could just see the videos as it's basically also the people we're working on. This is something that we forget also, working on national and also on European level. Where are our grassroots? So happy to see these videos. And today I'm very happy to have invited here the European Commission, the European Parliament, the European Youth Forum, national youth councils, and diverse groups of political stakeholders and civil society, and most important, you, young people and our audience. So during the event, we will hear some more testimonials from young people all across Europe, and we want to interact mostly also with you, dear audience, firstly by Slid.do. It will be introduced in a few minutes by my colleague. And secondly, also you are very free to ask questions and comments via Facebook and Twitter. For this, you had the hashtag in the emails. It's Youth in Porto, hashtag Youth in Porto, and then comment just. And we want to hear today how to deliver the pillar of social rights to young people, how to include them into the process of implementing the pillar, which actions should be taken on both the EU and the national level in order to reach out to the vulnerable group of young people, to ensure a good education, a good integration into the labor market, and ensuring a safe net for us Europeans. So I wish all of us a fruitful discussion. I see I'm as usual running out of time, and I'm very happy to give now the floor to our moderator this morning, to my dear colleague Gesa Spätling from the StartNet. And I wish you good luck, Gesa, with the next hour where we will listen a bit to the European perspective.
Yes, thank you very much, Matthäus, and also a very warm welcome on my behalf. As Matthäus said, I'm Gesa Spätling. I'm a project officer at the Goethe-Institut in Brussels. I'm very happy to moderate the first part of today's event before then handing back to Matthäus. Yes, as Matthäus said, European Pillar of Social Rights and the Social Summit taking place tomorrow are really important elements on our way to achieve a more social Europe, especially, of course, for young people and their future, and both on the European level, but also on the member states level. And both these dimensions we want to address today in our event, as we will start from a more European perspective and then move on to the national point of views. As Matthäus also mentioned, we would like to bring all of you in via the Slido, which you might already know. So therefore, I would already ask you right now to either take your mobile phones or open another tab on your browser And there will be a first question already waiting there for you. So you go to www.Slid.do, and there you can enter our event code, which is 60521. And you can just start answering the question right now, but we will get to the answers and to your answers after the first round of speakers. Of course, we are also very much encouraging you to ask questions to the speakers throughout the entire session. We will try our best to include them already now, or then at the end of our event when there is a Q&A slot foreseen. For this, you can use the chat button just below, or as Matthäus mentioned, Twitter or Facebook. And you're doing a very good job, but already at this I can see. Please keep your microphones muted to avoid any kind of disturbing background noises, unless, of course, you're a speaker. And yes, we have quite a number of interesting speakers and also special video inputs foreseen for today. And this is why I would like to dive right in and introduce our first panelist. Very happy to have Pablo Cornide here. Pablo, you're a policy officer at the European Commission's Directorate General for Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion. And you're an expert on youth employment and also the Commission's ways to strengthen it. So therefore, that makes you basically the perfect person to kick off today's panel and explaining a little bit the foreseen impact of the pillar on youth. So therefore, Pablo, I would like to ask you as my first question, how can the European Pillar of Social Rights and the recently published action plan really deliver specifically for young people?
Thank you, Gesa. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so I'll try to be brief and stick to time. So now we have, as you know, an action plan for the European Social Pillar with concrete actions to further implement the principles of the pillar. It's a joint effort, or it should be a joint effort of member states and the EU, with an active involvement, of course, of social partners and you, the civil society. So we have headline targets. We have a headline target on employment, with sub-targets on the gender employment gap, on early childhood education and care, and on needs not in employment, education, and training. So as you can see, all very relevant for young people. We also have a target on training, also very relevant for young people, with sub-targets on digital skills, early school leaving, and upper secondary education participation. We have also a third very important target on people at risk of poverty and social inclusion, including also a sub-target, if we can call it like that, on children at risk of poverty and social inclusion. So under the pillar, what the Commission is doing, the Commission has started work on minimum wages, which will also benefit young people, and we hope especially young women. We are also seeking to improve the conditions of platform workers. As you know or may know, we under one estimate, 1/4 of platform workers are under 25. We have renewed the European Alliance for Apprenticeships. We will review the Council recommendations on the quality framework for traineeships, especially as regards working conditions. We have also the Council recommendation on vocational education and training that is already in place. And then we also have the European Skills Agenda. We have with a 5-year plan, 2025, with also some quite ambitious objectives to be reached by 2025. And again, here we also have an intermediate target on digital skills. We also want to unlock public and private investment in skills, including with the supportive EU funding, and we want to do that with the Pact for Skills. And finally, we have a whole set of legislative instruments proposed or already in place that will, I wouldn't say indirectly, but that they are not directly targeted at young people, but they should also benefit a lot from them. So we have a proposal for a directive on binding pay transparency measure. We have the directive on transparent and predictable working conditions, which should be transposed by summer 2022. We have the working time directive, we have the work-life balance directive, and the Council recommendation of access to social protection. So as you can see, a lot of instruments now, as we all know, and I'm not going to hide it from you, it's all about making all these actions work, and some of them work together with each other and made it happen at the member state level, at local and regional level. There is always the challenge there.
Yes, wow, Pablo, of course, yeah, that sounds like a huge amount of possibilities and also of steps that you have already started taking. But yeah, there was already a little but at the end of your contribution. So therefore, I would also like to ask you, where specifically do you see like hassles, or what do you think needs to happen on the European, but also on the member state level, in order to make all of those instruments that you just introduced actually work?
Okay, so there I can be very brief. What needs to happen, it's all in legislative front, it's all about enforcement, and there the European level together with the national level we have to work together, each of the levels of government in the respective fields of competence. Of course, we have to dedicate the resources to the right priorities. We have now a lot of EU resources, but this is not enough when you are talking about the structural policies in member states. So we also have to dedicate the right national resources in the national budget to prioritize the actions under the social pillar. Because this is our common framework, should be our common framework in Europe to have a social Europe. And of course, this is not so sexy, but it is extremely important, is the coordination between the different levels of government, across policy departments, with civil society and the private sector. Here, this is an aspect that is underestimated, but it's extremely important. Many times it's not about the money, it's about how you make institutions work together. And I can clearly see that in the youth employment field, which we are very obsessed about money, but sometimes, of course, money helps, but it's not all about, or even mainly about having money. It's about making whatever structures you have, make them work. And it might sound silly, but it's not silly at all. And I could give you in another context, in another event where we have more time, I could give you many examples where you can do a lot by just simply improving coordination, and with the integration of services for of course, very important in the social sector, for the social system.
Indeed. No, thank you. And I think already also events such as ours today can help to achieve a better coordination, because first of all, we need to be aware also of each other's positions and point of views, of course. So thank you very much for laying out the Commission's stance on the pillar of social rights and the efforts for youth. I would now like to also introduce and bring in another perspective from our second speaker, and that is Panagiotis Chatzimichail. Welcome, Panagiotis. Glad to have you here. You're a board member at the European Youth Forum, where you are jointly responsible for social and employment policies together with your colleague Maria Rodriguez Alcazar. So you, coming from an umbrella organization representing many national and international youth organizations, having kind of a different perspective on this whole thing, what is your take on the social pillar and the action plan? And do you think that they actually succeed in delivering the youth rights?
Well, thank you very much. Just to make it easier for everybody, you can refer to me as Pete rather than Panagiotis. So good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting the Youth Forum. I think this is a great opportunity that we have. As you know, Youth Forum, or just for you to know, that Youth Forum brings together more than 100 youth organizations, and we're recognized as the voice of young people in Europe. I think with the current summit coming up, we have an opportunity after the European Pillar of Social Rights, seeing the action plan coming out, to kind of reflect on some concerning points that we really need to pay attention to, and with what you're doing as well, facilitate the discussion regarding further actions needed. Keeping in mind the rationale of the social pillar built upon, we now get a more further step on pushing members in literally providing an action plan and setting up potentials of that social pillar that was signed in a previous stage. And I think what we really need to do is reflect on the period from when the social pillar was created, and now that we're calling for the action plan to be put forward. This will help us really to reflect realistically and have in mind the wider context of the action plan. What we currently see skyrocketing youth unemployment, lines of young students queuing up at food banks, and growing intergenerational and mental health crisis. The expectations for how the action plan would support young people who have been hard hit by the pandemic are therefore very high. But the underlying structural issues behind the crisis that young people are facing here and already there, the pandemic simply exposed them. Those structural issues are high rates of precocious work, which means young people are often the first to lose their jobs. There's also the exclusion of young people from many social protection systems, which put them at the risk of poverty. Even before the crisis, youth unemployment was twice the overall rate of, and youth workers were concentrated in precarious forms of employment, with half of young people and young workers on temporary contracts in the EU. Furthermore, unemployment benefits and minimum income schemes are often unavailable for young people due to minimum age thresholds and employment history requirements that are difficult to young people to meet. This age discrimination in social protection system is an important factor in the high rate of youth poverty, with more than 1 in 4 young people at risk of poverty before the crisis. The action plan contains some important opportunities for addressing these underlying structural issues. In particular, a number of initiatives open the way for greater focus on quality employment. For example, the planned review of the quality framework for traineeships give an opportunity to act the European Parliament's landmark call to ban unpaid internships. The call to focus on the quality of offers under the reinforced youth guarantee in the action plan is also an important step towards creating more quality jobs for young people. Reflecting also on the call that we and the youth organizations have made for quality standards for the youth guarantee. With that in mind, we believe that there is room for the action plan to show more ambition. The headline targets are unfortunately quite weak, with the poverty target being much less ambitious than the previous one that the EU had set for 2020. It was also disappointing to see no concrete target for the reduction of early school leaving. There was also a missed opportunity to include a headline target specifically on the quality of employment, not just the quantity of employment. Beyond the headline targets, we also would like to have seen a greater focus placed on the action plan on how civil society would be involved, given the crucial role that civil society plays in connecting the EU to local people. If we come back to look at the current context and the impact of the pandemic, the challenges for the action plan to address are clearly very significant. But there is also a surge in society of appreciation for the role of essential workers who often work on precarious contracts, and there is a greater appreciation of the importance of our social protection systems for protecting people from poverty. We therefore have an important opportunity to strengthen our social policies and close the gap that excludes young people from social protection or quality jobs.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Many really important points that you mentioned, and also already some concrete elements. I think especially that there is room for improvement and that we need to be ambitious if we want to achieve basically anything. But if you could be very briefly, maybe mention maybe 3 demands or expectations that young people would have specifically maybe for the social summit coming up in the next couple of days. Just briefly and to the point so that we know what to take from here.
Indeed, I have put too much at the beginning, but at this point I'll be very concrete. I think from what we have talked and discussed within the youth forum and beyond, we see young people to call for decision makers to ensure that we build back better from the pandemic and that we allow young people to claim their social rights. We want to see an EU that is using this opportunity of the action plan and the summit to introduce binding legislation that has real impact on young people's life. To support this process, besides these 3 examples that I've shared, we as Youth Forum as well have created the Youth Pledge, where we're calling EU leaders to sign and join. Those who sign will personally commit to protecting youth rights across the initiatives in the action plan, as well as regulating meeting with young people and youth organizations to meaningfully involve them in the development and implementation of the action plan initiatives. Just to share that we're very pleased that we have a number of MEPs that signed up the pledge up to this point, and also Nicola Schmidt, the Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, which I think it's quite important to show as well the commitment of the institutions. Nevertheless, we will continue to invite other EU leaders.
I think we just lost Pete.
I'm back. I was out for a second, I don't know why.
Super.
Just to close this, we will continue disseminating the pledge, hoping that other members and representatives of institutions and EU leaders join and sign the pledge as well, hoping that we can really build strong partnerships between decision makers and youth representatives as we move forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Pete, very much for these concrete demands and expectations, and also for this great handover, basically, to our next speaker, who is indeed a policymaker on the EU level. And I'm very glad to welcome Kim from Sparrentak. Hi, Kim.
Good morning.
Hi, you are a member of the European Parliament since 2019, but you also have a background as a climate activist. And now you are a member of the Internal Market and Consumer Protection Committee, but also the Employment and Social Affairs Committee at the European Parliament. And all of those fields have enormous impact on people's lives, but also their rights. So basically, from your point of view as and the experience that you have as a European policymaker, what is your analysis of the social pillar and the action plan? And do you think that the instruments from the political side and together with the other instruments mentioned now, for example, from Pete, will actually have a significant improvement on young people's rights?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation and for the great question, and also for trying to put more pressure on us policymakers and on everyone in the EU through your pledge, which I will be definitely very happy to sign. The COVID-19 pandemic is having profound health, economic, employment, and social impacts. 6 million people already lost their jobs, and we've already seen a strong rise of youth unemployment. Inequalities and poverty are intensifying in this crisis, underlying the need for solidarity between generations. And young people are also the ones that are suffering heavily from the lockdowns and the limitation of social contacts, with classes moved online, organized youth activities not taking place, and very limited possibilities to see friends. And their life has been put on hold, and the solidarity that was asked needs to be returned. We now clearly and desperately need a stronger social Europe that takes into account the rights of young people. The action plan, therefore, comes at the right time, and it includes some important steps when it comes to improving the situation of young people, I think. The target to decrease the percentage of needs to 9% will need to be supported by strong investments in education on the one hand, but mostly by an economic recovery that focuses on job growth and the transition to a climate neutral economy. And we are waiting on the revision of the quality framework on traineeships for way too long as well. And the call of young people, organized youth organizations, and the European Parliament to finally ensure that interns receive decent remuneration no longer can be ignored. And in general, I believe that the action plan is repackaging a lot of existing initiatives. And for young people, a lot will also depend on the outcome of actions or initiatives that are not specifically targeted to young people, but are nonetheless crucial for them. And I will just go into 3 of them shortly. So first of all, access to decent and affordable housing. In my work on the Parliament's report on access to decent and affordable housing, it has become clear to which extent young people are suffering from the housing crisis in Europe. Rents keep on rising, and in the most overheated housing markets, the possibility to one day own a house seems like an unreachable fantasy. And this results in a generational divide in wealth and opportunity, especially as long as home ownership is the only model that's being promoted by most governments and the EU. And while housing policies are mostly national and local, the EU should really step up its game when it comes to tackling the root causes of this crisis. speculation, the unbridled growth of the short-term rental through Airbnb and other platforms, and the investment gap in social housing of 60 billion each year as a result of austerity policies. And I think if we look at the outcome of the housing crisis, we see that a bad housing situation and the cost of housing in cities or areas where there are jobs is an important barrier for young people to access work. And the youth guarantee isn't just about upskilling, but should give support from a holistic perspective, so also for housing support. And we also see that homelessness has increased with 70% in the last 10 years in the EU, and young people are one of the so-called new groups that is being homeless. And I would have liked to have seen a target to end homelessness in the EU in the action plan, and have also called together with 130 MEPs and 30 major cities to include it in the declaration of the Porto Summit. Concretely, to prevent youth homeless, more support should be given also from the EU budget to enable the transition of young people living in institutional care to autonomy. On estimate, 1 out of 4 young people that are homeless are LGBTIQ that face rejection from their family and discrimination on the housing market. So we also need better data on this hidden phenomenon and support the cooperation of the homelessness, LGBTIQ and youth sectors to develop support. But secondly, I also think it's very important that we look at the quality of the work. It was already mentioned, that young people are often part of the community that works in precarious jobs. And, the European Commission is now working on legislation on platform work in order to improve the social protection and working conditions of platform workers. And in the Parliament, we're working on a report to feed this process. It's important that we really, nail this legislation when it comes to the future of work and the future of our social model. This is the first battleground, and the outcome will be really important on how we will regulate the labor market in the future. For young people, I think a lot is at stake because, they are the ones that actually do these precarious, flexible jobs. And platform work was just introduced by companies that found a way to go around labor law in order to get cheap labor. And, the platform companies such as Uber claim that the partners working for them are extremely happy with the flexibility they offer. It was governments that had to step in to provide social protection when the COVID crisis hit, and certain types of platform work such as taxi services were not there anymore. So I think it's very important that we, just stop this crazy model and that we really step up our game when we're talking about this. I think 3 main proposals are very important for this. So first of all, we have to make sure that platform workers are being recognized as employees. Secondly, we need minimum standards for health and safety, and we need stricter rules on algorithmic management. And lastly, I think it's very important that we create jobs for young people through the transition to a climate neutral economy. Because, we can educate young people as much as we want, but there need to be jobs for them. And the recovery should by no means be an excuse for a return to austerity or business as usual. What is needed now is a clear and ambitious roadmap to guide the just transition that leaves no one behind. And the recovery and investment through Next Generation EU should be an important turning point to a climate neutral economy. Young people and all workers need to be equipped with the right skills to thrive in this economy. So this is what I think that should be done. The action plan is a great step forward, but we also have to really look at the legislation that's coming up and, scrutinize it and see what that actually has as an impact on young people.
Indeed, and many thanks also for already, making concrete proposals of what needs to be changed and how to do it. But maybe if you could just identify what is the one major challenge, if there is one, especially on the implementation, on getting forward on these issues, especially on member state level, but also if you think the major challenge is on EU level, of course, mention that.
Yes, so what I think is very important, especially when it comes to action from member states, I think, it's very important that we recognize the fact that young people are our future, and that we also look forward to make sure that strengthening the rights of young people in a broad sense is at the core of a lot of the recovery we're doing. The effect we have seen from the economic crisis in 2008, on young people was incredible and incomprehensible, actually. We're talking about a lost generation. And when we're talking about that, still talking about that, and not try to have learned from what happened there, and see, how we can actually not make the same mistakes as we did back then. I think that is one of the most important things. And I also, expect for the Youth Forum to really, these learnings that you have now from the previous crisis, to really push it forward and keep on pushing. And I think your pledge is an important part of that.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. Thank you very much for that, and also mentioning the current crisis that we have and whether we learn from it or not. And this is actually where I would also like to bring in the audience again with our first Slid.do question that hopefully all of you read. If not, and if you joined a bit later, you can go to www.Slid.do, enter our event code, which is 60521, so today's date, and just very quickly still answer our question. Or it's actually not a question, it's rather to see your point of view. We would like to know the political response to the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on young people has been either totally lagging behind, insufficient, sufficient, or actually excellent. Well, I'm not super surprised that the last answer might not be the one coming forward too much. I think probably most people here agree on this. I'm just waiting another quick second to see if anyone else would answer. But I think the idea is already kind of clear. Where we see some people having answered sufficient, maybe considering the circumstances which were difficult for everyone. But I think the main picture here is that we all think there should have been a stronger emphasis on young people and supporting them in this structural pandemic. We have also another question for you, and this is leading over to the next part of our panel, which is more focusing on the national level and the member states. So from your point of view, how should the member states improve their actions to ensure young people's social rights? Should it be via education and training, via income support, via healthcare, or via empowerment and participation? Or, I mean, these are just some ideas. There might be also other ideas from your side how to do that most effectively. So you can also click on the open one, ... And if you have another suggestion, just write it in the chat, and we are happy to take it up and see what else, what other ideas you have. So I'm just very quickly seeing, wow, I mean, it also shows that there is not just one right answer and one way to go forward, that this is actually quite encompassing, and these are all important fields or aspects of young people's life. At the moment, the education training is a bit ahead, but we also see that, of course, empowerment, bringing young people in, is an important aspect as well. And actually, I also see that there are some people clicking the ... So I'm very curious of what else you come up with and what will show up in the chat as other actions. And after, at the moment, I don't yet see anything, but please don't hesitate to put it there. Healthcare, of course, here is not on the top of this, but I think we all agree that we are in Europe and we already have a pretty good healthcare system. So I think probably this is a sign of us being very fortunate that we live in Europe. Fantastic. So after having now this kind of picture from your side on where the member states need to take further action, it's our turn to the second part of the event and focus a bit more on the national level. And for this, I'm very happy to hand over back to Matthäus and his very interesting panelists contributing from the national point of view. So thanks for contributing, and we get back to you and the Slido towards the end of the session.
Great, Gesa, thank you very much. I think it was a very nice first session that we had with great speakers and very good input. And as we can see, it was the input from the European perspective. And so now we want to focus more on the national perspective and also how the national can deliver the pillar of social rights to the young people. But as there's a césure, I would propose that we have 10 seconds to stretch ourselves, to refresh our mind, because we are cutting now the levels of political action from EU to national. So please, yeah, I see Jan is following me. This is the youth event. We can be more interactive. That's very cool. Thank you for doing that. So in the second part of the day, we will hear now about the national perspective, basically where the action has to happen, where we will really reach out to the young people, where we can make a change. And I'm very happy today to introduce now Mr. Rebelo, who is the Secretary of State of Youth and Sport of Portugal. And Mr. Rebelo has a very, very special role tomorrow because he is the European Youth Ambassador to the event of the Social Summit. Dear Mr. Rebelo, I'm very happy that you are here today with us, that you could take your time, because we can all imagine doing a European presidency is a very, very busy time for you. And we are happy that you found a slot to join us today. And basically, we just want to hear from you, as the presidency is already ending in 2 months. Could you tell us what is the Portugal's priorities for tomorrow's European Social Summit? And also maybe how can the summit and its follow-up effectively improve the social inclusion of young people? Mr. Rebelo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Matthäus. Thank you. And first of all, I would like to congratulate CESI, Youth and StartNet for organizing this event. I have to confess, I was especially pleased to receive this invitation on behalf of the youth organization of a confederation of trade unions. Trade unions have a fundamental role in our political system, in the social dialogue and representing workers. I find it very important to reflect, maybe in another event, on youth and unions, namely the representation of young workers in an era where young people face flexible and open and often precarious jobs. Another introductory thought that I would like to share with you is about the priorities of the Portuguese presidency of the Council of the European Union in the field of youth. I'm particularly glad to be here with you today because the main priority of our trio of presidencies in the field of youth is youth participation. I firmly believe that the bigger the space for youth participation, the better our democracies and the better are the solutions we find to tackle the challenge we face. I'm glad to be the ambassador of this event to the summit, and I will make sure to share the outcomes with my colleagues from the government and also through the networks of our presidency. The second priority of our presidency in the field of the youth is the promotion of a rights-based approach to youth policies. A rights-based approach recognizes young people as active right holders and policymakers as duty bearers, and this way it introduces a decisive element of accountability. In my opinion, this approach is fundamental when it comes to the implementation of the social pillar among youth. The social summit that is starting today in Porto, and I'm traveling from Lisbon to Porto myself right after this webinar, and I'm very excited about the event. The Porto Summit is what I consider the highest point of the Portuguese presidency of the Council of the European Union. I'm very confident that it managed to meet the expectations, on one hand, to set the European agenda for the next decade, and on the other hand, to ensure that we face the challenges of the present and of the future, leaving no one behind. This is very important, leaving no one behind. It is very important to reaffirm the social pillar and commitment to the action plan of its implementation. Above all, I'm very glad that the initiative mobilizes young people. Young people are, on one hand, beneficiaries of the social pillar, but on the other hand, and above all, active agents who are part of the solution of the challenges that Europe faces. The COVID-19 global health emergency and its economic and social impacts have disrupted nearly all aspects of life for all groups in society. For young people, and especially for vulnerable youth, the COVID-19 crisis poses considerable risks in the fields of education, employment, mental health, and disposable income. This way, the Social Summit and the Action Plan have special relevance for youth. Still, we have to highlight that youth is not static and it's not uniform. Young people are not a single homogeneous group. Youth is defined exclusively by age. There is a great diversity among young people, taking into account a wide range of factors, and different situations need different answers. I would like to challenge you to reflect on the social pillar and the related action plan as part of a bigger whole. On the level of the European Union, it is important to bring to this discussion the EU Youth Strategy 2027 and, of course, the 11 youth goals. Part of those goals are very relevant to the action plan, such as goal number 2, gender equality, and number 3, inclusive societies, number 5, on mental health and well-being, and also number 6, on a rural youth, and above all, number 7 on quality employment, and number 8 on quality learning. In the European Union, all our countries are now preparing the recovery and the resilience plans that constitute an expression of European solidarity facing the current crisis. Youth is a strong part of those plans because a life cycle approach is vital when it comes to policies and strategic planning. The challenges young people face need to be addressed with strong cross-sectoral policies. The new and renewed youth guarantee was adopted in the end of last year and is becoming a very relevant tool for the fulfillment of social rights of youth. It is important to refer one more relevant international document that was adopted by the vast majority of the member states of the European Union, and I'm talking about the Lisbon Plus 21 Declaration. In 2019, as you know, 100 countries from all over the world participated in the World Conference of Ministers responsible for youth and the Youth Forum, with delegations composed of government representatives and youth representatives. The final declaration, the Lisbon Plus 21 Declaration, was adopted by both governments and youth representatives and contains very relevant commitments on the level of inclusion, quality, inclusive education, decent work, and so on. What is very important after the Porto Summit on the member state level is to look at the action plan of the social pillar and at the same time look at the other commitments of the level of youth and cross them in order to understand that what we need to do to assure young people's access to their social rights, and all young people in all their diversity. I think I already exceeded my time, and sorry for that. But as you might have understood, this topic is very, very important for me. I should say it's very important for us. Later, of course, I will be glad to answer your questions and to comment a little bit more on these topics. Thank you so much, Matthäus.
Mr. Rebelo, thank you very much for your input. I think it was very interesting, and the key message I'm taking here out of is shortly also that we cannot leave anyone behind, and especially thinking about the future of the recovery after the corona pandemic, we really cannot have a lost generation 2.0, so we have to take the young people on board. But we are happy that you stay with us during the event to the end. You said you will answer later also questions, so audience, prepare questions, and I know that you will at the end also have a little short final statement. Now, I would like to ask everyone, as we're in a digital world, we need to take a photo, because you know, when it's not on social media, it means this event never happened. So that's why I would ask everyone to switch on your camera, please. And we will take a screenshot. I think Tomasz from CESI, you are doing the screenshot, or Luca, one of my colleagues, I would ask you. So I will count to 3 and everyone is smiling and happy. So 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Very good. Amazing. So you can follow this later on the social media. Now let's have another look for the youth perspective. We had the EU perspective already, and also from Panagiotis, from the European Youth Forum. And now we want to have the youth perspective on the national level. And we want to listen to a short video from Alberto from Spain, which will be now then afterwards followed by a comment by Miriam, I know. So can we play the video, please?
Hello, I am Alberto and I'm 25 years old. 1 year and 2 months ago, everything was fine for me. I was working abroad, I had a nice salary, and it looked like it was going to continue like this for a long time. Suddenly, and because of Corona, I became a part of this big list of Spanish unemployed young people. After a few months, I came back to Spain. When I came back, I focused on managing my emotions and planning the next month. My mom talked to me about a program called Lanzadera Conecta Empleo, backed up by Santa Maria la Real Foundation, Telefónica Foundation, and the European Social Fund. I started this journey in November 2020. There I met Felix, the person who guided me and my teammates through all this active employment search, this road of self-knowledge and training of the digital competencies with all these telematic situations. During these months, we have been working in our CVs, training online communication, and cloud-based file management. We have also been looking about company selection processes, job seekers, and how to hack their algorithms. For me, the most beautiful part of this process was breaking down our limiting ideas, identifying our strengths, and empowering them. As I read once, we all have precious stones in our pockets. Sometimes we are just too busy to look inside us. Now, I feel stronger and grateful for being a part of this project. Thank you for your time, and remember, don't forget to look in your pockets.
Yes. we heard about the difficult situations of Alberto from Spain, and I think he's just one who stands representative for millions of young Europeans. And it's always important to see that behind this high figures of unemployment, of youth unemployment, there are real faces. And it's important to give these faces also the space to speak out. So I'm happy to see this. And now I know we are having a short comment by Miriam da Silva Rias from Fundación Santa María la Real. I'm not sure if I said it correctly. I'm not a Spanish speaker, not yet, but I hope you that will change soon. So Miriam, where do you currently see the largest shortcuts comings in the EU youth policy linked to your work, and what are your hopes for the improvements?
Wow, that's a difficult question to answer. At the moment, we are facing a really big challenge with the youth in Spain. I mean, there are so many areas that we need to tackle. So from our foundation that we are really focused on the improvement of employability, what we are really focused is on be there, listening to what's going on in terms of what's needed now to join the workforce, and trying to help the youth with our program. Our program is very innovative because it's a program for groups of 20 people that help each other. That's really important to enhance the employability of everyone in the group. So it's not all about one person, it's all about mutual support, to understanding that what you're going through is not only you, and make a group force. That's really good for to empower yourself collectively and individually, and to speak up, so you feel stronger because you are not alone facing this huge problem. So I don't want to take too long, but I just want to say that thank you for opening up the space, and I hope that everything that is being talked today can get factual in this year, because it's really hard for the youth. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Miriam. I mean, this is you are here because you're doing this crucial work. We are saying that we are speaking now about the national, and you especially on the regional level, where you really reach out to these young people. So thank you very much for your work in the Fundación, and you are really doing what we need. I mean, integrating young people in the labor market, helping them out and bringing them out of these precarious situations that they're all facing around the globe at the end. It's not only in Europe. But now let's thank you. Let's go on now. Also, let's go on to the youth councils now. I can hear that we are arriving already in Portugal, because I'm having the next speaker with, I believe, the most common Portuguese name, João. And João Pedro Videira from the Portuguese Youth Council is today with us. I'm very happy to have you here. As already said to Mr. Rebelo, as the presidency is now taking in Portugal, you are super busy, I can imagine. So thank you very much that you took your time to join us today. And dear João, could you please tell us, what are your expectations of Portugal's youth regarding to tomorrow's European Social Summit, and also for their future? And maybe also, where do you see the largest needs for action, as we are speaking about the national level, where the action is really taking place? João, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Matthäus. And I'm pleased to be here with you today. And João, it's not João, it's João with your nose. And let me start by thanking to CESI Youth and StartNet for the invitation to join this session, and congratulate you for providing the space for relevant stakeholders to discuss how we can ensure that young people can benefit from the implementation of the European Pillar of Social Rights. It's important for us to discuss how we can ensure that young people can benefit from the implementation of the European Pillar of Social Rights in these challenging times that we are living in right now. I would also like to salute my fellow panelists Mr. João Paulo Rebelo, my Secretary of State of Youth and Sports, Mrs. Dolores Gores, Director of the Office for Youth of Slovenia, and my dear colleague, also Patrick Bol from the Slovenian National Youth Council, and all the MEPs and Pete from the European Youth Forum that has their interventions before me. Answering your question, the expectations of Portugal, Portugal's youth regarding the European Social Summit are as great as the support of Portugal youth to the European Union as a space of peace, democracy, sustainable development, equal opportunities, and of social and economic, of course, inclusion. However, not always young people's expectations in Europe have translated into meaningful participation in political processes, access to decent jobs and social protection, equal opportunities to grow and live healthy and independent lives. As you know, young people have been disproportionately affected by the 2007 and 2008 financial crisis, where we saw a skyrocketing number of youth unemployment and, of course, of neat young people, which has left an entire generation in a situation of extreme social and economic vulnerability, social inclusion, and risk of poverty. Without even fully recovering from this economic earthquake, we are now confronted with a health crisis. This is also a socio-economic crisis, where once again young people are extremely vulnerable with the aggravating conditions of the accelerating changes in the labor markets and new forms of work. This demands not only for the investment in skills development and quality education, but also for innovation in social protection schemes to ensure that young people are not excluded from accessing their social rights. Therefore, we see the Social Summit as a great opportunity to provide a framework for EU institutions, member states, and also social partners to tackle what we understand as a systemic problems that need to concrete policies, so we don't miss yet another opportunity to find pathways for a more fairer and just Europe for all generations, and where social cohesion and equality is in fact present in people's daily lives. In terms of the largest need for action, we believe that there are three key dimensions where we need action. First, when providing the framework for implementation of the European social rights, we need a cross-sectoral approach to social policies alongside with the active involvement of citizens in the design and decision-making of such policies. The EU cannot afford to exclude its citizens from this dialogue, especially young people, since ensuring their well-being and emancipation is crucial to keep the expectation of a free, democratic, and equal Europe alive. Young people need access to quality education with relevant qualification and skills development, but also to have decent jobs that can give them access to financial independence, social protection, and so forth. This can only be achieved if young people are included in the decision-making processes of the implementation of the action plan if there is a multi-level and an interministerial cooperation in the design and implementation of social policies to ensure that they address different dimensions of young people's lives.
So now we are doing something that, wait, I also have to check where we are here. Now we're doing something that every politician would like to do. We go to the future, basically, and we are moving from the Portuguese presidency to the following one in Slovenia. So starting now with Mrs. Dolores Cordes, the Director of Youth Office in Slovenia, who will bring us the governmental perspective on social policies for young people. Mrs. Cordes, I'm very happy to have you also here today. Already a little bit preparing for the upcoming presidency that you are holding. I'm pretty sure you're also super busy organizing everything. We know it because we just had before the German one, so it's a tough time always for the countries. Mrs. Cordes, can you please tell us how the Slovenian presidency keep up this momentum that we're having, that European social policies and actions are reaching young people? The floor is yours. Can you, I think you're still muted.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you, organizers, for organizing this event. It's really my pleasure to be here with you today. Yes, it's quite a busy period, but we are actually very looking forward to the presidency, of course, with the aim that we can do something good also for young people during our presidency time. So I will present you a little bit different angle of what we are thinking and what we intend to do actually in the second half of this year, because as you maybe know or maybe not, but the priority of all trio is participation of young people. And we believe that also in context of social rights, the participation is extremely important part. And during our presidency, we will focus on youth civic spaces. And this is because we believe that it's extremely important part of preservation and future development, not only of civic spaces, but also of democracy, social economic system of Europe, with special emphasis on social. And of course, in this framework, also of social rights of young people. So what we aim is to put in the wider context discussion about participation of youth, their rights and their trust in a healthy democracy. We will address different civic spaces, political, public, digital, physical, because we believe that in all these dimensions, we can give something that social rights are then preserved or further developed also. We know that young people need these spaces because only then they can develop their full potentials and become equal members of society. And it's not only that it's not only that young people would like to be, of course, equal members of the society, but what is also important that society needs healthy young people who are able to do this transition, let's say, in the adult life. Let's put it in this context. Also, by strengthening civic youth spaces means also strengthening social rights. And we are all aware that we are living now in a specific period of time, let's say so. We know that the consequences of this pandemic on the young people are extremely big, because if we are honest, and I believe that the young people were a group of society that was hit the most, because they had to change way of life the most. And the consequences are not only now, but we know that it will be also, this pandemic will influence the future. Therefore, we believe that these resilience and recovery plans are extremely important, are necessary. But we have to be careful, and we have to plan very carefully so that this resilience will be really resilience, and young people are included in that, because young people are actually the pillar of the future. And we can do this by, of course, support innovation. We have to invest in qualitative education, and especially in quality job opportunities. It's not only about quantitative factors, as was already said today, but quality, I think, is the basic. And also, I believe that, and we believe that this is a great opportunity that we address and dedicate us better towards the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And it's time that we say to ourselves that we can do better than we were doing before this pandemic. And I think we have a great opportunity now. At the same time, I think that we speak not that we don't talk about that too much a lot, but social rights are actually a great achievement of Europe, and at the same time, we can use it as a competitive advantage. But of course, if we will work on it, if we will be able to implement it. And without young people, I don't see that social rights will be preserved in the future. So just to conclude. We will work a lot during the presidency on civic spaces, and hopefully give also young people through these tools where they will be able to develop their full potential, to be equal members of society, equal members of Europe, and they will further develop also the European values that brought us today. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mrs. Dolores, thank you very much. I think you mentioned some very important points, and personally, I'm very happy to hear that this momentum here in virtual Portugal, you want to catch up and you want to take it for the next presidency to Slovenia. As you said, the recovery plan will then be on the focus very strongly of your presidency, and it's good to hear that you will not forget the young people. And also the other topic that we're speaking about, the participation in giving young people the space in civil society, and to see them as equal members of the society and important members of the society, as we all just repeat it all the time. It's the future of Europe, of all our societies. So it's good to see that you're keeping up this moment and you want to continue work on this. I'm very happy, and I'm looking forward to your presidency and wish you all the best for the upcoming month, because it will be a hard time. So let us now, you could hear that we are having a little bit of the ping pong here between adult and youth now. And now we are going back to the youth perspective of Slovenia, where we are now. And I'm happy to welcome Patrick Bole from the Slovenian Youth Council, that you are here today with us. And yes, dear Patrick, on the travel from Portugal to Slovenia now, I was speaking about the future. And what do you think, how can the Slovenian youth keep up this momentum and push for effective actions to ensure that young people's social rights will be represented well during the next EU presidency? And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for inviting, and I'm delighted to be speaking here on behalf of National Youth Council of Slovenia. Yes, we will be soon in full force in regards to the presidency, taking its course in Slovenia in 2 months or so. And yeah, the issue we are facing is that we will be, well, of course, everyone is facing this issue, that we'll be having a presidency during the pandemic. And, you know, the pandemic has affected most of our lives in ways that we have not imagined before. And young people, of course, are no exclusion from that. And I think that, well, we can say that we will try to basically, as it's also a topic of our presidency, that we will try to push for basically inclusion of young people when it comes to recovery, and how we will try to achieve that. First of all, we will try to, we will be opening spaces on local and national level, also European one, of course, but just to see that, I mean, to go in direction that gives the young people a voice, to voice their issues, or to make their concerns heard. And I believe that given the pandemic, those concerns will be very much tied to the social rights and the access to labor market, issues with unemployment, and how to recover better. So in this regard, we will be trying. We'll be trying to make those opportunities in forms of dialogues with decision makers, because we believe that this is crucial for the decision makers at all levels to be aware of the issues concerning the young people. What I'd also like to stress out is that the pandemic has also revealed an acute problem that has been piling in Slovenia for some time, but now has come into spotlight, so to say, and that is the issue of mental health among the young people. And the pandemic has revealed that there is a lack of health services for mental health issues, and that increasing number of young people are seeking help for this, but we were perhaps not really prepared for this aspect. And this is also a crucial aspect that I believe that comes it's tied to the social rights. So this is something that we are also working on. We have established working groups, and we are trying really hard to push awareness and basically inform the decision makers also that this is the problem that has to be addressed. So we are trying to open civic spaces on all levels, but yes, as perhaps the director also mentioned, there is an issue with of course the pandemic, and our activities have to be online so far, but still there are opportunities that can derive from this. And lastly, I'd like to mention that we are going to basically still strive for those main issues that we believe that will basically derive from the COVID. But most importantly is that we need to have in front of us the green recovery, of course. So when talking about recovery, we will have to take into account that we will need to also finance, or well, not just finance, but also focus on having more green jobs for young people, and basically enable them the ability to those who have perhaps different skills, that they'll be able to switch to the so-called green jobs. So I will finish here. I hope my intervention was able to showcase how we can keep the momentum. So basically, we'll be opening spaces, and we expect that young people will be voicing many concerns related to the social rights. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Patrick. It's nice to hear from you your topics for the presidency and how you want to ensure to keep this momentum, to give space to young people. I mean, this is something we heard today very often already, and it's very nice. And I liked also that you brought in the topic of mental health, because this is something that is often being forget at this time. And honestly, like now in this pandemic times, we can see that the mental health also of young people is super, super important, and it's right now very much affected also during the pandemic. So this is something we really have to talk also, as it has big futural affections also. And what I also like is the energy in Slovenia. I could hear, because also Mrs. Cordes was mentioning already, and you follow with it, to really give space to the civic society and to include the society, to consult them, and to give space to discuss also the decision-taking process. This is something very nice. I like it, and wish you all the best for the presidency and keeping up there the youth voice. We are coming now already to an end, so I would say we have some more minutes to have a short discussion about the impression that we got this morning from these 2 sessions of our event. And firstly, let's go back to the interactive tool of Slid.do, where we want to create a word cloud. And we want to ask you up to 3 words. What is your call for action for the European Social Summit? You have 3 words, to fill in. And then we will check what's going on. What is your call for action? Engagement. Okay, yes, we could hear today. Inclusion, youth participation. I think now it will start to grow a little bit. Yeah, inclusion important. Great. Oh, nice, nice. Civic space dialogue. Yeah. So basically about participation. Yes, a lot. Being an inclusive society, not forgetting youth rights. Yeah. I mean, you can only ensure a good social society if you have quality jobs. Okay, nice. I like that you're so active. It's very cool. It's growing. I would maybe just let's wait for a few more seconds for this. And then I would like to give the floor to Mr. Rebelo, the State Secretary of Youth and Sports of Portugal, because yeah, now we are beaming us back from the future in Slovenia and coming to the day before the EU Social Summit back to Porto. And I would like to give you, Mr. Rebelo, again the floor for some final words from the Portuguese presidency. And you know, your role as the ambassador is not only a title to be the youth ambassador to the EU Social Summit, but it's also a big duty. You could hear today some expectations from Europeans from all over the continent, from young Europeans, what we are asking for, what we are needing, and to ensure a good future of our European Union. So thank you for Mr. Rebelo, and the floor is yours again. You're muted.
Yes, I was trying to unmute it, but okay. Thank you, Matthäus. Thank you again. Congratulations again also on this event. I think you managed to gather here very interesting contributions. The video message were very useful to have a real input from young people from Europe. I think from the polls we managed to understand also that young people need better social policies, mainly to support in training and employment, but other contributions arrived also. And based on all the interventions, what my biggest takeaway point is that we need to invest in cross-sectoral policies for young people that support emancipation, economic independence, and empowerment in all areas of life. It might sound like a cliche, but it is not a lack of innovation. Young people's rights need to be reaffirmed in the context of the social summit facing the COVID situation, the digital transition, the green transition, and so on. We need to create a framework that works for people first. Young people are the first to experience changes in the labor market. For instance, as it was mentioned, they are most of platform workers, as we heard during this morning, and we already knew, of course. We need to look at the social pillar, look at young people's well-being and emancipation, and affirm those rights in the present context, integrating integrating these topics in the action plans. I would conclude. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Of course, I will bring these ideas with me to Porto and all of your contributions. I'm a very proudly ambassador of this cause. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Rebelo. As you said, you're traveling now to Porto. I think you're the only one here traveling physically there. So yeah, good luck for the work over there. And maybe to give you more food for thought, I would give all of the speakers one word to say what is your key message for tomorrow's social summit. What are you asking for? But only 1 to 2 words, please, not more, because we don't have the time. And yeah, let me start how we started this morning. Basically, who is there? Panagiotis, you would like to maybe start with the one key message? I don't know if Kim is also still there.
Yeah, so I think from our behalf, having also the team there, the word that will be is openness and engagement.
Great, thank you, Panagiotis. Kim?
Well, there are going to be a lot of words in Porto, so the key message I would like to give is that we also need action.
Okay, great. The European Commission, Mr. Cornide?
Cooperation.
Good, let's have good cooperation. Mrs. Codders?
Inclusion.
Very good. That's what I could hear from the next presidency. Perfectly. I think that's all. And how about our youth? Do you want to say one last words from the National Youth Councils, Slovenia and Portugal? I'm not sure. Otherwise, we had Panagiotis as the European Youth Forum. Okay, before I will now hand over to the absolute final words because of the timing to my colleague Jan, I want to thank all of the panelists for your great input, your time. I think it was very enriching, and I hope we will see tomorrow during the social summit also the discussion and some of the actions very, very soon. And yes, I mean, we all know how it is. It's hard to organize such events, and we find this is a lot of work. So I really want to thank you to my dear colleagues Raluca, Gesa, Diana, Tomasz, and Jan, who really supported us a lot. Also our Secretary General Klaus Heger, because you are the people who made this event today happen, to at least a little bit bring in the youth perspective to the tomorrow's social summit. And also thank you very much for all the videos that we got, because I know it's not always easy to share the situation you're living now in. I mean, these young people, these young Europeans spoke about their fears, about their dreams, and about the situation they are now hit so strongly by the pandemic. And thank you for your very openness, sharing your thoughts with us. And also to you, dear audience, you made it today also this event lively with your interactions. And I want to thank you all and see you soon. And now, Jan, I'm closing my mouth and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Matthäus. So it's my pleasure and honor just to say a couple of final words, what has been discussed and how do we take it from there. So a lot of challenges were mentioned. I won't repeat them all because you have heard them: the youth unemployment, the mental health, intergenerational solidarity, housing, how to avoid a lost generation. But we had also a lot of proposals, good ideas. First of all, let's give young people a voice. Let's empower them. Let's make them participate. Let's pledge, as the European Youth Forum said. Let's create places for youth participation bottom up. Let's create quality jobs, green jobs, quality education, projects that focus on skills development, skills for the future in a quickly changing labor market. What we will do with these discussions, this is inspiring ideas that have been expressed today. So our next steps will be to capture, to summarize what is being said today, to share it with you, the audience, with the broader world, the broader community, with all the participants in the Porto Summit. You will be informed. We will keep you updated on how to access and follow the Porto Summit, how to keep engaged on the topic. So you will receive a follow-up email from our side with more information also on our future activities. We are planning to follow up on the European Youth Guarantee around November, December. So we will look forward to seeing you there. So we will do our best in capturing the results, making sure that what has been said today will be heard and will be acted on, But I would like to call also up on you, on all the speakers, on all the participants. It's also on us to raise our voice, to make sure this event had an echo and that all the voices and ideas of young people are being heard, because there's a momentum for a more social, a more inclusive Europe. And if we want to make this Europe truly sustainable, we have to focus more than ever on young people, on future generations. We hope you have enjoyed today's event. We also would like to further improve it. That's why we have a short link in the chat where you can answer to the survey and help us improve for the next events. On behalf of CESI Youth and StartNet Network Education Transition to Work, we would like to thank you. We say bye-bye, but the very final words should be again with the young people. So we will show again a video that has been built by many young people all across Europe, their testimonies. Listen to their messages and be inspired. Thank you very much and bye-bye.
Me siento un poquito rara porque siempre que dicen, pues es gitana, es programadora y bueno, es como romper todo, ¿no? Yo trabajo como programadora informática en Accenture. Bueno, la fundación me ha conseguido el trabajo que ahora mismo es el motor de vida mío. Si no fuera por el curso de la formación y porque ellos estuvieron encima mía, yo no hubiera llegado a encontrar este trabajo. La formación que yo tuve fue un pequeño curso en la Fundación del Secretariado Gitano con la Academia CICE, y después de eso nos hicieron hacer las prácticas en la empresa en Accenture y me formó dentro de su empresa en un programa que tienen ellos. Ahora mismo mi meta es seguir formándome dentro porque claro, en la informática tienes que renovarte siempre. El móvil que teníamos en 2012 no es el mismo que tenemos ahora y todo eso tiene un trabajo detrás. Una vez que trabajas, ya no quieres dejar de trabajar.
Hi, I'm Matthäus Lomuscio. I'm in the last year of a School of Music in Acquaviva delle Fonti near Bari, and today I would like to talk about my dreams for my future career and the possible obstacles I might face. I've been studying music for 5 years and I have realized I want to devote my life to the arts. At this moment, I am uncertain of what specifically I would like to pursue, but I know for sure it will be with the music field. I am aware that it's very difficult to find a full-time stable job, and people might try to convince me to change my path, but I am a dedicated and a passionate person. I would love to wake up in the morning knowing I have a job I truly love. Thank you for listening to me.
Hello, my name is Caroline. I'm 19 years old, just finished school, and I'm currently a voluntary at the Goethe-Institut in Brussels. Throughout my education, I received a lot of help, understanding, and acceptance from my teachers, parents, but also other tutors. I would like all young people, regardless of the household they're coming from or their social situations, to be able to receive the same opportunities and also to be given the room to be able to discover themselves and to discover what they want in their professional future.
My main concerns about my economic situations and futures are the ones about being able to live on my own, afford a home, being able to dream about having a family without being in debt, to be able to afford a pension and to have a good social protection scheme.
Ciao a tutti, io sono Sydney, ho 18 anni e frequento il quinto superiore di una scuola tecnico-commerciale qui a Bari. Penso che l'istruzione, la formazione, l'apprendimento continuo siano fondamentali per il futuro e soprattutto nel mercato del lavoro, perché magari durante i colloqui di lavoro ci sono alcuni imprenditori, direttori che vogliono un determinato tipo di persona, una persona con delle soft skills particolari, come ad esempio capacità di problem solving, leadership, capacità di lavorare in gruppo, tutte qualità che si possono avere o migliorare nel tempo. Come farlo se non migliorandosi sempre, imparando sempre di più e continuando insomma a studiare, perché non si smette mai di imparare e soprattutto si è sempre in tempo per imparare cose nuove.
Alors j'aimerais devenir ouvrier en espace vert et j'aimerais joindre mon métier de BTP et paysagiste pour trouver un emploi. J'aimerais avoir plus d'expérience dans l'espace vert.
J'aimerais être paysagiste à mon compte. Mes barrières, ce serait d'avoir plus de connaissances dans le métier et d'avoir un réseau.
Mon rêve, c'est genre de devenir sapeur-pompier professionnel à Paris ou à Marseille. Et les barrières, c'est au niveau de la santé, les genoux et puis le dos. Et puis, faut que je reprenne le sport.
Mon plus grand, c'est travailler dans un restaurant. Sauf que les barrières, c'est qu'il y a le Covid, donc ça empêche.
Mon rêve, c'était d'être vendeuse et les barrières, c'est que j'ai peur des études.
Actuellement, je peux pas subvenir à mes besoins moi-même, toute seule. Du coup, j'aimerais bien trouver un emploi qui puisse me permettre d'avoir plus d'argent.
Ma situation économique, j'ai pas vraiment de barrière pour l'instant. Et pour mon futur, j'aimerais... je sais pas par quel moyen je vais atteindre mon objectif et ni en combien de temps je vais pouvoir le réaliser.
C'est après, faut savoir gérer son budget, tout ça, genre l'appartement, l'essence pour la voiture, tout ça. Non.
Non?
Pas aujourd'hui.
T'as une rentrée d'argent
Suffisante.
Ouais, grâce à quoi?
Grâce à mon travail.
Et c'est quoi ton travail?
Je travaille en boucherie.
Ok, en apprentissage.
Ouais.
Déjà, c'est de trouver un restaurant, si un patron veut de moi. Après, l'argent, ça va être compliqué, quoi. Si on trouve pas de boulot, ça va être chaud pour avoir de l'argent, du salaire.
J'ai peur que dans ce métier, on soit mal payé.
J'aimerais bien avoir un stage dans l'espace vert pour apprendre plus, acquérir plus de compétences. Donc, nous aider à trouver un stage en espace vert.
Alors également trouver un stage dans un domaine qui m'intéresse, dans lequel je me projette dans le futur. Et également partager des connaissances et leur réseau professionnel.
Genre le contact avec les clients, savoir encaisser l'argent, les découpes, tout ça. Puis le respect.
Les techniques, les types de cuisson, le dressage.
Travail. Il devrait m'apporter d'être professionnel, donc dans la communication, dans tout ce qui est client, relation.